What's going on, everyone? Welcome to my channel. I appreciate you stopping by for my first video. And to preface real quick, I understand this rig is a little messed up, but the microphone is fine. So I'm gonna work with what I got and I'll eventually fix it. But yeah, man, dude, the hype of Lorcana has just been phenomenal. I just couldn't wait to start making videos just talking about news and updates, meta decks, showing gameplay, starting a podcast that I'm organizing right now with somebody else. Like, so many things. It's just been really fun with the community, just to talk with the community and how much they've been enjoying it, and going to organized play events or just any other event, you know, playing little sealed battles with my brother as well, who's really big into the game. So I've just been having so much fun with this, and I feel like I have a lot of cool takes on the game, and I have a lot of fun ideas for videos. So hopefully you enjoy this one and you stick around for other videos that I come out with. But let me go ahead and get into why you probably clicked on this video in the first place. If you've read the title of this video, you know there's a card that I feel is really underrated and not talked about. It's been talked about a little bit recently, but it's really not brought up. But before I reveal it to you, I want to play a little game. I just want to give you 3 hints, see if you can guess it, and if you don't, you know, it'll be revealed. Right here, I'm going to start with telling you for the first hint that it's in Sapphire. For the second hint, it's a 3-drop. And for the third hint, it is an item. And if you didn't get it there, I'm about to reveal it to you now. That card is Fishbone Quill. You know, you might be angry, you might be like, how is this card underrated to him? What is he thinking? I'm not saying this is the best card. I'm not saying it's even a top 10 card. I think it's a really good card, and I'm gonna kind of break this video down into several different parts. One is I'm gonna go over what it does first and foremost. I'm gonna go over why I think it's so strong, some downsides that I think for the card, and then I'm gonna go over why I say it's underrated, and also how high is the ceiling for this card. You know, what is the potential for this card, which I think is incredibly high. So we'll get to that, but first we're gonna go over what does this card do. So again, it's in Sapphire. It's a 3-drop item, and with the ability go ahead and sign. What you can do is you can tap this card or exert it, however you say it. You can put any card from your hand into your inkwell face down. Now I want you to pay attention to 2 words, which one is any and one is face down, and I'm gonna go over why those 2 keywords are very important. They're not technically keywords, but I say they're keywords. Obviously they're very important. So why do I think this card is so strong? And I'm just gonna start off with the kind of just a small reason. It's not very important, but it's inkable, right? And my idea behind this is, think of any uninkable card. Like, if you had to pick either it was inkable or it wasn't, which would you rather have? You'd rather have it the option to ink it if you need to, right? Any card is better when it's inkable. So it's just as simple as that. That's just a very small, not important. There's a lot of inkable cards, John. Why is this one so good? Well, that moves me on to my next point, and it can ink a card, and you can use that ink towards another card on the turn you play it, so you don't really lose any pace. I didn't mention, but obviously, you know, this card is only going to be used in ramp decks, so think of it for a ramp deck. I mean, you may run it somewhere else in a deck that's not primarily for ramp, but it might help you in the game. I don't know if you really would want to do that, but this is primarily going to be used for ramp, and so that could be really important. Next, we're going to get into the 2 key words that are very important, and the first one is any. This is important because it distinguishes itself from a card like Bell, and a reason why I think it's better than Bell in the early game. Bell allows you to play the card and then ink additionally on the turn you play it, and every subsequent turn you can ink an additional card, but it only allows you to ink an additional card that is inkable. Fishbone Quill gives you the ability to ink any card. So the preferred method is on turn 3 you're able to play Fishbone Quill, and then you can just ink your Mickey, and you don't have to play. If you have a Mickey, if you don't, you can ink something else. But with the second additional key and important word in that ability, face down. Hey guys, I'm sorry for pausing the video. I just wanted to clarify. I know I keep saying that it says you can put a card face down, and I'm acting like that's a huge thing when a lot of cards say that. And what I really meant, and I came across completely wrong, is that since you can ink any card from your hand, you don't have to reveal it. And that's just really the point that I'm making here. But anyway, continue with the video. That gives you that competitive edge where you can play any card from your hand, so you don't have to reveal it to your opponent, and you play it face down. And with that competitive edge that I was mentioning to you, I'm just gonna give an extreme example. Please, I'm warning you right now, this is an extreme example. I'm not advising to do this just in any situation or willy-nilly. I should have used a different phrase. Imagine you're using Ruby Sapphire and you ink a Be Prepared.
Stop it. Get some help.
They have no clue, and why would anyone think that that's what you're doing? But there's always a situation where a certain card that is very powerful, you may not necessarily need it, or something else might just be more beneficial in the moment. Again, extreme example, I'm not advising to do that, I'm just saying. But now your opponent doesn't know that that's what you inked. Maybe you've already used 3 Be Prepareds. You know, who knows? And they don't know they don't know you inked the 4th. And so with at least 1 card in your hand, they know at any point if they try to play a full board, there's potential that you just wipe them. So they're going to play more conservative, keep more cards and characters in their hand, just in case you play a Be Prepared and then you wipe them, right? But you can do that obviously again with multiple different cards. I just think that's an easy example to really have in your mind, or imagine that competitive edge that you can have with placing a card face down and not having to reveal it. Additionally, what are the downsides? For one downside is you don't need more than 1 Fishbone Quill. It could be devastating later on in the game if you need to draw something important and you draw a Fishbone Quill, because in a ramp deck, obviously late game, you should have enough ink in your deck to play anything that you're gonna draw. And any big character, maybe you need a Hades, maybe you need a big boy like Maui that you have in your deck, or maybe you need a Simba because of evasives, whatever you filled your deck with, but then you pull a Fishbone, you don't need that second Fishbone, you have enough ink, and all you can do with it then is just ink that. And now you essentially lost the pace of that turn, you lost your potential to grab something that you really need, so that can hurt you. So in my personal deck that I made, that's a Sapphire Steel that's really successful, I only have 2, and I've been fortunate enough to get them a lot of the time. There are situations though, with only 2 of them in a 60 card deck, it can be hard to find and it could really hurt you late game. Additionally, A Whole New World is very much a card you want when you have Fishbone Quill, because you're going to be filtering out of so many cards, and A Whole New World is just a big card to have when you're playing a ramp deck. You're throwing so much into your ink, and it's so important to ink every turn. And with Fishbone Quill, it just doubles that process of how much ink that you're throwing in. And so if you don't have A Whole New World in your hand, it's going to be extremely hard to keep up the pace, because now you're top decking and you're just praying to get that Whole New World to draw completely. All right, why is this card underrated in my opinion? And I think the most obvious reason is that it's Sapphire. Sapphire is gotta be the worst color at this point. I think there are some really strong combinations. I think there's a very good deck again in Sapphire Steel, which I've built and again I've had success with. So I know there's a strong deck build there that can compete with the aggro, with the mid-range. The control it struggles with a little bit, but with all the removal, you know, you can deal with the others. And with how strong your characters are that you put out onto the field, it's hard for any aggro or mid-range to be able to smash into them. You really can't. It's really hard to do. With control, obviously, with Be Prepared, that's kind of the biggest loss. That's probably why it's underrated for the most part, but also another reason is just the fact that Bell is primarily the card that people go for. The additional 4 lore at 10 ink is such a huge thing, but again, if we're comparing the two, Fishbone is so much better early game. I almost always ink a Bell if I have it in my hand, because I'm usually going to end up A Whole New Worlding into a new hand. So Bell might as well just get inked, because it's going to get discarded anyway. So Fishbone is great early game, phenomenal early game. Bell is not good with the 2 willpower. Or the 2 strength and the 4 willpower, just not good at all. And it has a huge target on its back, so the opponent's gonna find any way to take that card out when it can. And again, with it's not as strong with the ability of being able to ink an additional one, because as I said back, it can only ink something else that is inkable, where Fishbone can ink anything and keep it face down and be playable on it. Well, Bell, you could play it too as well. But then on the flip side, Bell is so much better than Fishbone late game. Obviously, with that additional 4 lore, it becomes you have to get it off the board, and if you play Aurora with it and give it ward, now you got to kill Aurora first and then kill Bell. But getting 5 and dying after is completely fine. Questing one time with a card and getting 5 lore out of it is incredibly valuable. So if they don't get it out before then, you got your value. You got your value and then some out of your Bell, and you likely have 4. So, and Fishbone, as I mentioned earlier, just not good late game. You just don't need it whatsoever. So how high of a ceiling does this have, in my opinion? Where do I see the potential being? And in just one fact, I think this could potentially be a meta shifter into ramp decks, depending on if they come out with a certain type of card in the future. In this next set, if they come out with a card that's in Sapphire or Steel, again, because Steel is the most complementary color right now, if they come out with a card in either one of those colors where you can search your deck for an item, unless I'm forgetting of a card in Steel that has something like that, which I don't think I am. If they come out with a card where you can search your deck for an item, I think it completely shifts the meta. I think ramp becomes very relevant in the conversation. Like a character would be beneficial to have that type of ability, unless they start coming out with more items that are a lot more impactful on the Sapphire side. Again, it still wouldn't matter if they came out with a card like that in another color, or if there already is right now. You know, obviously it's not impactful because it's probably a color that's not complementary enough with Sapphire, so it's not worth it. Right now you have cards that do work in tandem with item, like things with items, like you have that Maurice where you can draw a card every time you play an item, and then you have the Tamatoa that allows you to retrieve an item from your discard pile, and for every item you have, it gains 1 lore. And then you have the card, if it's not I don't know what that is, I don't know, it's French, I believe, because it's that clock, and I think he's French, I don't remember. But either way, you can do the same thing, Tamatoa, return an item card from your discard to your hand, but those just don't matter. One, because you don't want that uninkable 3-drop for that other action. It just isn't useful on turn 3. You have better turn 3 plays, more preferable, and Tamatoa is just too late to have. Even, you know, if you ramp up into 8 by turn 5, if you're at 8 ink already, I mean, Fishbone could still be obviously beneficial, but there's probably other cards you want to start filling your board with and playing with aggression to add that pressure to your opponent by the time you even play the Tamatoa. If we see, like I said, a character card, or we see more items that are playable, so where Tamatoa actually like matters more, whatever the case is, if we get a character card that allows you to search your deck for an item, and that's in Sapphire or Steel, I think the meta does shift. I think ramp becomes in the conversation for at the very least a top 5 meta deck in Lorcana. But yeah, that's a lot of talking, that's a lot of opinions. Did I change your opinion in any way? Did you think like, okay, maybe I bumped you up a little bit, maybe I made some good points, maybe you just hated the way I talked, and so now you hate Fishbone? I don't know what the case is, so just leave it in the comments how you feel. Like, I want to have that discussion. What are some cards you think are incredibly underrated? Maybe I should talk about them, maybe I should go over them. But yeah, I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and put on notifications if you want to know when I'm coming out with more content. I hope you enjoyed this content. I hope you stay for the future. But with that being said, I hope you have a great day.